Hello, and welcome to another episode of Reading Reddit with Amber. Today I have another batch of outrageous stories for you from r/Am I the Jerk. Before we get into today's stories, I just wanted to note that we recently passed 200 subscribers on here. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. Your support means a lot to me. I'm happy to see that so many of you are interested in these videos, and I hope to continue to provide you with entertaining content. Also, shout out to the people who sent in suggestions for today's video. Our first story is, Am I the Jerk for Facetiming my wife in the store? I'm a 42-year-old male, and I got a call from my wife, who's a 40-year-old female, when I was getting off work. She asked me to pick her up some pads from the store. I asked her to send me a text with a picture of the ones she uses to make sure I got the right kind. I get to Walgreens and I cannot find the kind she texted me, so I FaceTime her in the pad aisle and was showing her the section where her brand is to see if I could find another kind. About 30 seconds in, a woman comes up to me and tells me I am being inappropriate and she was going to report me. Mind you, my wife is on video with me this entire time. I tell my wife to text me a backup pad that I could get for her and end the call. Right as my wife is texting me, a man, the store manager, and a female clerk come up to me with the woman behind them, and he asks what I am doing and that he got a complaint that I was behaving inappropriately. I explained that I was there to buy pads for my wife and couldn't find her brand. I told him that since I didn't see it, I called her on FaceTime. The woman then starts shouting that I was taking pictures of her and I was lying. I showed the manager the text from my wife and told him I just wanted to get my wife her pads and leave. The manager and the woman went up to the front of the store, and the whole time she is screeching to him that he needs to call the police and have me arrested for being a pervert. The clerk stayed behind and asked if she could help me find what I needed. I agreed. I showed her the box my wife texted me, and they were out. She then said that this other pad in the same brand would work just as well. I texted my wife a picture of the pads the clerk picked out, and she said they were fine. I paid for the pads and left, and when I got to the car, I cried. A grown man crying in his car. I have never felt more embarrassed and humiliated in my life. When I told my wife what happened, she went pale and hasn't stopped apologizing to me. Was I the jerk for FaceTiming? I don't think I was doing anything wrong. But is there some unspoken rule about the pad aisle that I don't know about? OP is a stand-up partner and absolutely not the jerk. It's great that he was invested in getting the right product for his wife, and FaceTiming her seems like a reasonable way to make sure he's getting her the product she needs. That woman was a complete jerk. Guys can buy period products too. It's not weird. And the way that she lied to the store manager and was like, he was taking pictures of me when... maybe she really thought he was somehow, even though he was FaceTiming his... I don't know. I don't see any way in which this is a reasonable reaction to the situation. She's a huge jerk. OP, you're in the clear. You're fine. Keep doing nice things for your wife. It's excellent. Our next story is, Am I the jerk for going to the Grand Canyon with my uncle and not my dad because I still don't want to see him? Things haven't been easy. My parents aren't together anymore. They're in the middle of divorcing after my dad came out to everyone, and also that he's been seeing some guy for 3 years behind my mom's back. He's moved out and now it's only us in the house. My mom's trying hard to be strong for me and my little bro, but this whole situation has hurt her a lot. I've been so mad at my dad ever since, and I have said I don't want to see him for how he hurt her. My brother has gone a couple of times since he moved, but I've barely talked to my dad. It wasn't the gay part that made me so mad at him. It's that he did this to her all these years, even though he knew about himself before they were together, but he didn't say anything because he really wanted to have kids. So yeah, we're not talking. Thursday was my 18th birthday. Ever since I was a kid, I said I wanted to go to the Grand Canyon on my 18th. Just something special to do on that day since, can't drink or do anything else that's like a rite of passage. And my dad said we'll do a trip then when the time came. Obviously, with me still being mad at my dad and us not talking, I wasn't about to ask him to go, but I still really wanted to do this like I always planned. Instead, I asked my uncle, my mom's brother, if he could take me, and he said yes. The trip was 4 days, and it was amazing. I had a great time with my uncle, and so glad to have waited all these years for the trip to make it extra special. We just got back today, and my brother filled me in that Dad called while we were gone because he wanted to discuss the trip and found out I went with my uncle instead. Little bro said they got into a fight on the phone because my dad wanted this to be an us trip and thought I wouldn't have gone without him, even with how things are right now. He said my dad was really upset because my mom didn't do anything to stop it, that it was always supposed to be our father-son trip. But that led to another fight, and bro stopped listening after that. To be honest, I don't know if I'm a jerk here. I always wanted to do this trip when I turned 18. Things aren't good with my dad. It wouldn't have been fun and probably ruined the whole experience if we went together with how the situation is. So I don't know why he thought we would still actually do that when we haven't talked in months. Don't know, I keep going back and forth. Am I the jerk? I'm gonna say that OP is not the jerk. There's nothing wrong with his dad being gay, and I recognize that there are a lot of obstacles to same-sex couples being able to raise children in many places. However, the dad carried on an affair for 3 years and then broke up his son's home life. It's not that different than if he had carried on an affair with a woman and left his wife for her. I think it's normal for a child to feel hurt and angry over a situation like this, and to not want to spend time with a parent they feel is responsible for creating the upheaval. The dad shouldn't expect immediate forgiveness, especially when it sounds like he's not really doing anything to make amends for the hurt he has caused. Our next story is, am I the jerk for leaving in an Uber after my engagement party? My fiancé and I got engaged a week ago. It was an absolute disaster. I never wanted a party, but my fiancé's mom insisted and wanted to have the engagement party at a restaurant that is expensive to me, and made my fiancé pull money out of the savings account he has for buying a house just so she could show herself off to her family. She picked a restaurant of her choice, invited her whole family while I was only allowed to invite my mom and dad. She didn't even order meals until later because she was arguing about how her favorites weren't on the menu, lied to my parents about food, and said in her invitation, "Join us in celebrating Jake and Sarah's engagement with desserts and champagne only." She said no kids, but brought sister-in-law's kids with her. She sat in the middle, next to my fiancé, and they were both having a toast without me. I was feeling so uncomfortable and super upset that I couldn't even hide it. My parents were the first to leave. They were upset. Can't blame them. It was awful. We were about to leave. My mother-in-law wanted us to give her a ride home because brother-in-law left with his cousin. My fiancé said sure. Next thing I know, she got into the passenger seat. Sister-in-law tagged along and stuffed her kids in the back where I was supposed to sit. I found this so inappropriate and humiliating. I asked my fiancé if he was serious. I told him I belonged in the passenger seat. But mother-in-law said I was being disrespectful and refused to sit in the back and threw some comments at me. I lost it, literally called an Uber and told them to go. My fiancé lashed out and called me crazy and told me to get in the car because I was embarrassing him. We yelled at each other. He refused to leave. I got in my Uber as they watched and went to my parents, cried my eyes out, and refused to answer my phone, to spare myself the shaming. It was awful, awful, so awful that I regret not leaving early. I hate them all. They're treating me like trash and I've had it. I'm 24 and my fiancé is 27. Edit to clarify that 1, she took some of our savings for a new house and spent it on the party. 2, she sat in the passenger seat and wanted me to sit in the back. My fiancé took her side and said I was embarrassing him. OP is not the jerk here, and I think she needs to leave this relationship immediately. An engagement party is supposed to be celebrating the couple, not fiancé and his mom. The mother-in-law showed zero respect for OP and her family, and the fact that her fiancé chose his mom's side on this is deeply concerning. If he's already condoning his mom's self-centered behavior and valuing that over OP's happiness, then things will not get any better after the wedding. If anything, they might get worse because then OP will be legally bound to this man, so it will be harder for her to leave. So my advice for OP would be get out of there as fast as you can. Our final story for the day is, am I the jerk for telling my daughter I won't pay for a degree that offends my values? It's not as simple as the title makes it sound. I'm a 40-year-old male, and I have a daughter, Emmy, who just started college a few weeks ago. I made some good investments in my 30s, and I'm blessed to be able to pay for her college. She was a pretty good student in high school, and I like to think she has a good head on her shoulders. Anyway, her school doesn't require you to declare a major until the end of sophomore year. She's starting as a mechanical engineering major, which I think is a good choice. She's math inclined, and the career prospects are good. However, she's become a bit of a, quote, social justice warrior over the past year. I'm more of a conservative guy, but I respect that she's nearing adulthood and needs to decide her own values. Unknown to me, she signed up for a social justice related class this semester. Well, I was video chatting with her on Tuesday, and she said she had something big to tell me. She said she didn't want to study mechanical engineering anymore, and she wanted to major in women's studies. I asked what the employment numbers were like for that field, and I told her my initial reaction was no. She said she hadn't researched employment and wanted a career as an activist. I told her that was stupid and being an activist might feel good but doesn't pay the bills. I told her to be an engineer who goes to protests on the side. She didn't like this and kind of yelled at me. I told her I wouldn't keep paying for her school unless she could demonstrate that she could get a job in this field or stay with mechanical engineering. We aren't talking now. Am I the jerk? I'm going to say that OP is being a jerk because he is trying to dictate what kind of jobs his daughter can and cannot have. She had said she wanted to be an activist, and by that I'm assuming that she probably wants to work for an activism-oriented nonprofit or something similar. A degree in mechanical engineering will not prepare her for that line of work. It's fine to make suggestions to your kid about what kind of degree you think they would be well suited to, but it's not fine to make your continued financial support contingent on your child getting the degree you want for them. By trying to force her hand with her degree, Opie is trying to push her into a career path that he wants for her, and that is controlling behavior. Also, as a side note, STEM degrees aren't inherently more valuable than humanities degrees, and I say this as someone who has degrees in both STEM fields and humanities. You can do a lot of rad things with a degree in gender studies or other humanities disciplines. People working in nonprofits may not make a lot of money, but they do really valuable work, and it's important that we value jobs that are fulfilling as well as those that are lucrative. Not everyone's main goal is to be rich, and that's fine. That's actually probably a good thing. Those are all the stories I have for you for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving it a like or letting me know in the comments. I post new videos twice a week, funny or outrageous ones on Wednesdays and spooky ones on Sundays. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.